Before we get into today's edition of Just the Truth, let me tell you about the latest special from Mike Lindell at MyPillow. The standard MyPillow, normally $49.98 for a limited time only, just $14.88 with promo code Joey. Go to MyPillow.com, click on the radio listener specials, and see all the specials. There's a limited quantity of just 10 at this special price. That's $14.88 with promo code Joey. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss Studio. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. President-elect Donald Trump, fresh off the certification of his win over Kamala Harris, held a major news conference yesterday at Mar-a-Lago, saying that he will consider giving the Gulf of Mexico a brand new name. What will that be? We have the details for you. Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg made a huge announcement yesterday as he admitted that his social media platforms, Facebook and Instagram, have violated the principle of freedom of speech for a number of years now, and he says things are going to change. A new Pew Research poll shows that Joe Biden will go down as the worst president in history when it comes to modern-day presidents. We have those details for you. Earlier in the week, I visited with newly elected Representative Sherif Biggs from the 3rd Congressional District of South Carolina. I'll continue that conversation and talk about some of the main issues that Representative Biggs plans to work on as her top priorities.
I told you we'd be back.
And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free.
It's Joey Hudson.
I wanted to name it the Joey Hudson bill, but, they don't allow you to put names on bills. But I wanted to call it the Joey Hudson bill because I know that one's been near and dear to you for a number of years.
That's how it's done. Let your voice be heard.
And the truth shall set you free.
Here's Joey Hudson.
President-elect Donald Trump, fresh off the certification of his win, held a news conference yesterday at Mar-a-Lago. And, folks, he didn't hold back. It was in true Trump fashion. He gave an overview of where his new administration will start on January the 20th.
We are inheriting a difficult situation from the outgoing administration, and they're trying everything they can to make it more difficult. Inflation is continuing to rage, and interest rates are far too high. And I've been disappointed to see the Biden administration's attempt to block the reforms of the American people and that they voted for. We had a landslide election. We won every swing state. We won the popular vote by millions and millions of people. Nobody even knows how many people, millions. And they're still counting in some areas. They're still counting the vote in some areas. Can you believe this? What a place. What a horrible place. One of the things we're going to do is we've got to fix the election so that we get honest counts and they get done by 10 o'clock in the evening or something thereabouts. They have places where they're still counting votes.
One of the issues that has attracted a lot of attention after he held his news conference yesterday is the Gulf of Mexico, and evidently he wants to give it a brand new name. That's right. Trump announced that we're going to start calling it the Gulf of America. Here's his comments.
Things going to have to be done. Same thing with Mexico. We have a massive deficit with Mexico, and we help Mexico a lot. They're essentially run by the cartels, and can't let that happen. Mexico's really in trouble, a lot of trouble. Very dangerous place. And we're going to be announcing at a future date pretty soon. We're going to change because we do most of the work there, and it's ours. We're going to be changing, sort of the opposite of Biden, where he's closing everything up, essentially getting rid of $50 to $60 trillion worth of assets. We're going to be changing the name of the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America, which has a beautiful ring that covers a lot of territory. The Gulf of America, what a beautiful name. And it's appropriate. It's appropriate.
The Gulf of Mexico. It has a ring to it, doesn't it? And you know what? It's kind of appropriate. The Gulf borders our great states, Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Florida. And maybe it's time we embrace that. Of course, it also borders Mexico. And Trump made it very clear that he's not exactly happy with how Mexico's been handling things. He slammed them for letting millions pour into our country illegally and not trying to do anything to stop it. And get this, Trump's already looking at tariffs, serious ones, on both Mexico and Canada to hold them accountable for the chaos that they've helped create at our borders. The drugs, the illegal crossings, is out of control. And it's about time that we had leadership that steps up and says enough is enough. And I think we're there, folks. Now, before we go any further, let me circle back to another big headline in his news presser yesterday. Trump announced that DAMAC is investing $20 billion, billion with a B, in new data centers across America. This is huge. We're talking about thousands of jobs, cutting-edge technology, and another example of Trump working to put America first. And he's not even in office yet. That's what leadership looks like. Jobs, innovation, making sure our country leads the way into the 21st century. That's not all, of course. Trump's been making waves, literally and figuratively, with his remarks about expanding U.S. territory. Remember the chatter about Greenland? Well, it's back in the headlines. Donald Trump Jr. and some of his buddies landed in Greenland yesterday. He's calling it a, quote, personal trip, shooting some videos for his podcast. But let's look at the bigger picture here. President-elect Trump has floated the idea of buying Greenland, something he's called a strategic move for America. And, folks, if you think about the resources, the position, it kind of makes some sense, doesn't it? Here's Trump on Greenland.
Well, we need Greenland for national security purposes. I've been told that for a long time, long before I even ran. I mean, people have been talking about it for a long time. You have approximately 45,000 people there. People really don't even know if Denmark has any legal right to it. But if they do, they should give it up because we need it for national security. That's for the free world. I'm talking about protecting the free world. You look at, you don't even need binoculars. You look outside, you have China ships all over the place. You have Russian ships all over the place. We're not letting that happen. We're not letting it happen. And if Denmark wants to get to a conclusion, but nobody knows if they even have any right, title, or interest. The people are going to probably vote for independence or to come into the United States. But if they did do that, then I would tariff Denmark at a very high level.
So let's pause here for a minute. What do you think about some of the headlines over the past few days? So Trump wants to take back the Panama Canal. He's talking about buying Greenland. He's talking about renaming the Gulf of Mexico. Don't you know that that some of these leaders in these countries are sitting back and thinking, oh my, here we go again. Now, the Greenland prime minister has already said the Denmark prime minister, Denmark owns it, or they say they do, has already said that Greenland's not for sale. But Greenland's not the only thing Trump has his eyes on. I believe he's seriously considering taking the Panama Canal back. Here's what he had to say about that.
Really great things. We're being respected again all over the world. The Panama Canal is a disgrace, what took place at the Panama Canal. Jimmy Carter gave it to them for $1, and they were supposed to treat us well. I thought it was a terrible thing to do. It was the most expensive structure ever built in the history of our country, relatively. It would be the equivalent of substantially over $1 trillion today. We lost 38,000 people. Think of it, 38,000 people, they died from malaria, mosquitoes. They were unable to stop the mosquitoes. They paid people 5 times more to take the job. Many of those people died. We gave it away for $1. But the deal was that, they have to treat us fairly. They don't treat us fairly. They charge more for our ships than they charge for ships of other countries. They charge more for our Navy than they charge for navies of other countries. They laugh at us because they think we're stupid, but we're not stupid anymore. So the Panama Canal is under discussion with them right now. They violated every aspect of the agreement, and they've morally violated it also. And they want our help because it's leaking and not in good repair. And they want us to give $3 billion to help fix it. I said, well, why don't you get the money from China? Because China's basically taken it over. China's at both ends of the Panama Canal. China's running the Panama Canal. And they come to see this Biden, this guy who should never have been allowed even to run for president. Of course, she shouldn't have either, because that never happened I had to be two people, not one. But they want $3 billion to fix the Panama Canal that's run by China and makes a lot of money, China. One of the most profitable structures ever built, because you have ships lined up back to Florida, frankly, and they just keep going through, and the numbers are staggering, $500,000 to $1 million a ship. And they took it away from us, meaning we gave it to them for $1. But not going to happen. What they've done to us, they've charged us, they've overcharged our ships, overcharged our Navy. And then when they need repair money, they come to the United States to put it up. We get nothing. Those days are over.
Yep, and that's the good news. Those days are over. This is just a taste of what's to come. He's not even in office yet. He's already shaking things up. You've got the Gulf of America, tariffs on Mexico and Canada, $20 billion investment in data centers, and talks of expanding our territory. I don't know that we've talked about expanding our territory in my lifetime. Maybe so. I mean, I know other presidents, but I think actually Harry Truman was the last one to really have serious conversations about Greenland. And, of course, Jimmy Carter, as Trump said, just gave the Panama Canal away in my lifetime, in the 70s. Wow. As I've been telling you folks, buckle up. It could get rough. Your comments are welcome on the Firmin Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY. That's 864-477-5639. Emails always welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com. There's a lot of talk about making America great again, and it begins with making America healthy again. Dr. Ashley Lucas and her team at PhD Weight Loss are at the forefront to educate and guide you to be your best self. The millions being spent in propping up Big Pharma are astounding, only to create long-term dependency and harmful side effects. Let's take a natural approach that isn't connected to a pharmaceutical company's bottom line. The coaches at PhD Weight Loss will show you how. The entire program is centered around science and nutrition, a proven roadmap that has helped over 8,000 clients lose over 331,000 pounds. You'll learn what to eat and when, how to quiet cravings, and finally get rid of that belly fat. Plus, you'll never take a medication. How many pounds would you like to lose in 2025? Do it the natural way with PhD Weight Loss, here to lead the charge to make America healthy again. Call PhD Weight Loss and schedule your consultation. 864-644-1900. That's 864-644-1900, or go to myphdweightloss.com. So breaking news out of California last night. A fast-moving, growing brush fire broke out late afternoon in the Pacific Palisades, California area, forcing mandatory evacuations and causing significant disruptions across that region. Tens of thousands of residents have been affected, with more than 26,000 people ordered to evacuate their homes and their businesses. Over 13,000 structures were considered under immediate threat, according to the Los Angeles Fire Department. Around 9:20 p.m. last night, the fire had consumed about 3,000 acres. According to CAL FIRE, with no injuries or fatalities, thank goodness, the blaze has prompted the evacuation of approximately 30,000 people total from 10,000 households. Over 250 Los Angeles Fire Department firefighters, supported by neighborhood agencies, are working to contain the flames. Resources deployed 46 engines, 5 helicopters, 2 bulldozers, 6 paramedic ambulances, tractors and bulldozers and all types of, they're calling in off-duty firefighters to help assist. The fire's already damaged several structures, including homes in that Pacific Palisades Highlands area. Video footage showed flames threatening at least a dozen homes on Shadow Mountain Drive. I'm told that's just north of the Los Angeles area. The Getty Villa, located near the fire zone, implemented extensive fire mitigation measures, including sealing off galleries, activating irrigation systems. This is that big Getty Museum there. They've moved some of their collections to safe areas. California Governor Gavin Newsom declared a state of emergency, unlocking state resources and enabling the California National Guard to assist when required. Newsom, who was briefed on site, emphasized the need for cooperation and praised the federal government's quick response. President Biden approved funding to support firefighting efforts, bypassing the bureaucratic delays and trying to get help to California. We'll be watching this one as it looked really bad. More than half of Americans, speaking of Joe Biden, believe that he will be remembered by history as a poor to below average commander-in-chief, according to a new Pew Research poll. Gallup poll. The Gallup survey released yesterday found that 37% expect Joe Biden to be regarded as below average. Look, I would say he's failed. He gets an F, not a below average. 17%, according to Gallup, indicated that the 82-year-old commander-in-chief will be remembered as a poor leader of the U.S. Only 6% of U.S. adults responded that history would remember Biden as a, quote, outstanding president, and 13% thought that his legacy would be regarded as somewhat above average. Another 26% said Biden will go down in history as just an average president. His 35 percentage point net positive rating ranks near the bottom of the list of presidents, according to Gallup. Only former President Richard Nixon, Gallup says, who resigned from office, of course, under threat of impeachment during the Watergate scandal, had a lower net positive rating than Biden at 42. So you have Biden at 35, Richard Nixon was at 42, just slightly off. Meanwhile, President-elect Donald Trump scored a 4 percentage point net positive rating, getting both relatively high positive, 40%, negative ratings, 44, for his first term, and the fewest average rating, 16% out of 10 presidents measured. Former President John F. Kennedy had the highest net positive rating at 68 percentage points, according to Gallup. Biden's ratings were lukewarm, even when you only talked to Democrats. A majority of Democrats, 54% to be exact, said that the president would be remembered as average to poor, while 44% felt that his legacy would be above average to outstanding. I don't know how anybody who has followed Joe Biden's presidency, how they can claim that he is even average. They don't live in the same country that I do if they think he's even average. 37% of Americans believe Biden will be remembered as a poor president. Put me in that category. If there's a rating below poor, give me that. He's been a disaster. I just have to really breathe deeply at times. And I'm a little more involved maybe than some people, but I just have to kind of take deep breathing exercises when I see him doing some of his crazy stuff. And this week has been one of those weeks with all the things that he's done. I mean, turning those terrorists loose from Guantanamo Bay, giving them to Oman. What does he think Oman's going to do with them? Does he think they're going to keep them in prison? No, they're going to turn them back, and we may see them back on American soil. Madder than ever. And this craziness of restricting drilling for oil, does he not realize that gasoline prices have been very high during his administration? Has he not gotten the message that the American public is not really embracing the electric vehicles that he wants to force into our families? Wow. The president, of course, one of the big factors on his negativity, he's been plagued by the allegations that during his term that his family has benefited from an influence peddling scheme run by his son Hunter and his brother James Biden. I think the world knows that Joe Biden is a crook. Joe Biden makes Richard Nixon look normal. And I think as we get into the next few years with Joe Biden out of the White House, we're going to eventually get to the truth. People are going to be in a position where they can talk or will talk, and we're going to learn that all of the allegations that we have heard over the past few years about the influence peddling and all the emails that we read from Hunter Biden's own laptop were true. And that they literally, the Biden family has really been running a shakedown operation. Biden faced an impeachment inquiry over some of the allegations, of course. He was never formally impeached. Probably should have been. He's vehemently been criticized, of course, by Republicans over the botched U.S. withdrawal from Afghanistan. He just totally messed that up. Still doesn't admit it, but he did. It resulted, of course, in the Taliban retaking control of the country. And the record number of illegal border crossings under his watch is just horrendous. And again, he doesn't think he's done anything wrong. He doesn't think there's anything wrong with the idea that we have millions and millions, so many that we don't even know how many we have, people in our country who shouldn't be here and came here for the wrong reasons. How Joe Biden can justify this, I'll never truly understand. How any true American could allow his country to be invaded, and he thinks it's a good thing. He thinks that they have rights, that they should be defended, that we should house them, that we should feed them, that we should educate their children, that we should feed them, give them transportation. How he gets that or justifies that, I'll never know. But he has. And Kamala Harris has gone right along with him, and that's why she was defeated soundly on November the 5th. Gallup, in their survey, noted that former President Jimmy Carter, George W. Bush, and President Trump have seen harsh ratings as they were leaving the White House, but that those have softened over time. And they suggest that maybe the same thing happens to Joe Biden. What do you think? Do you believe that right now everything's just raw and the situation that our country is in, this is just so new and we're just trying to find a way out? We're just looking for that hope that Donald Trump offers, and that maybe in a year, 2 years, 5 years, that we may look on Joe Biden differently? I don't think I will. What about you? Text me, email me, joey@joeyhudson.com. Do you think that Joe Biden, that we'll soften on Joe Biden's legacy as time passes? The survey seems to support longtime Democrat strategist James Carville's recent assessment that Biden ruined his legacy by deciding to launch this his ill-fated reelection campaign this past year. That Joe Biden should have just gracefully left the White House and not even pretended to run for re-election. Carville, in his usual choice of words, said the most tragic figure in American politics in my lifetime is President Biden. He said it's also effing self-inflicted. He knows that he effed up. Again, Joe Biden's eloquent speech, if you want to call it that. But he's right. Joe Biden did this to himself. Joe Biden should have never even considered running for re-election. He should have bowed out. He should have gone to the beach and let Kamala or whoever. I dare say, I don't know that Kamala would have been the party's nominee if there had been a legitimate Democrat primary. I don't think she would have won. I think the party would have looked someplace else. I don't know who it would have been. Maybe Gavin Newsom. And I still don't think they would have beaten Donald Trump. But they might have had a little bit better chance than what cackling Kamala did for the party. Up next, yesterday, Mark Zuckerberg, CEO of Meta, admitted that his company had engaged in too much censorship. We have the details. Your comments are welcome on the Firmin Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY. That's 864-477-5639. Emails always welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com. Speaking of the Firmin Ford text line, it's never been more important to support locally run businesses owned by people who actually live here in the upstate. Let me take a minute to talk with you about our friends at Firmin Ford. If you're looking for a new vehicle, maybe a great pre-owned vehicle, one you can trust, or maybe you're looking to order that special vehicle. Either way, if you want a new one, a brand new one, or a pre-owned that you can trust, the folks at Firmin Ford, they're there to help you. Their name is on the sign because their name is on the line, because every single transaction is important to them. Jim Firmin, Matthew Firmin. They do business the right way. When you stop by, when you give them a call, or maybe when you just send them a quick email, you're always going to have access to a member of the Firmin Ford family. And by the way, they also offer great service, and you're not going to have to wait weeks and weeks to get it done. And you do not have had to purchase your vehicle at Firmin Ford. Doesn't even have to be a Ford. They service all makes and models. Visit my friends at Firmin Ford online at firminford.com, firminford.com.
Hey everyone. I want to talk about something important today because it's time to get back to our roots around free expression on Facebook and Instagram. I started building social media to give people a voice. I gave a speech at Georgetown 5 years ago about the importance of protecting free expression, and I still believe this today. But a lot has happened over the last several years. There's been widespread debate about potential harms from online content. Governments and legacy media have pushed to censor more and more. A lot of this is clearly political, but there's also a lot of legitimately bad stuff out there. Drugs, terrorism, child exploitation. These are things that we take very seriously, and I want to make sure that we handle responsibly. So we built a lot of complex systems to moderate content. But the problem with complex systems is they make mistakes. Even if they accidentally censor just 1% of posts, that's millions of people. And we've reached a point where it's just too many mistakes and too much censorship. The recent elections also feel like a cultural tipping point towards once again prioritizing speech. So we're going to get back to our roots and focus on reducing mistakes, simplifying our policies, and restoring free expression on our platforms. More specifically, here's what we're going to do. First, we're going to get rid of fact checkers and replace them with community notes similar to X, starting in the US. After Trump first got elected in 2016, the legacy media wrote nonstop about how misinformation was a threat to democracy. We tried in good faith to address those concerns without becoming the arbiters of truth. But the fact checkers have just been too politically biased and have destroyed more trust than they've created, especially in the US. So over the next couple of months, we're going to phase in a more comprehensive community notes system. Second, we're going to simplify our content policies and get rid of a bunch of restrictions on topics like immigration and gender that are just out of touch with mainstream discourse. What started as a movement to be more inclusive has increasingly been used to shut down opinions and shut out people with different ideas, and it's gone too far. So I want to make sure that people can share their beliefs and experiences on our platforms.
That, of course, was Mark Zuckerberg yesterday when in about 5 minutes, he admitted that his company had engaged in, quote, too much censorship and declared that with the cultural tipping point of recent elections, meaning the landslide victory of Donald Trump, his platforms would now be undertaking efforts to restore free expression. Are you buying this? You believe that Mark Zuckerberg, out of the goodness of his heart and his love of freedom of speech, that he is making these changes? Zuckerberg's announcement, of course, shaking up big tech as we know it. He's admitted what so many of us have been saying for years now. Facebook has done too much censorship. They went too far. They let Joe Biden and the FBI force them into, or shame them into doing this. Zuckerberg himself is saying it out loud now. And not only that, he's promising major changes ahead of President-elect Donald Trump's return to the White House. I guess he knows that he has to. That we have a new sheriff in town, and his name is Donald J. Trump. So what exactly is he going to do? Zuckerberg is scrapping the third-party fact-checking system on Facebook. You know, the one that's been criticized for being biased and overstepping. Maybe you have been in Facebook jail before. Maybe you've been one of the ones that you were put in the corner. Or maybe things just weren't exactly right and you didn't know why. You weren't seeing your friends' post. Your posts weren't showing up in your friends' daily news feed. You weren't getting the response that you once did. You weren't getting the comments. Well, Meta is moving to a model similar to what Elon Musk did on X. It's called Community Notes. This means more transparency, more accountability, and less top-down control over what people can say and share. In other words, I don't think if Zuckerberg really does what he said he's going to do, we're not going to have a bunch of 20-somethings censoring what you and I post on Facebook, if you're still on Facebook. Many people left Facebook, may not go back. You're going to give it another chance? Will you give Facebook, if you're one of those who have left Facebook, will you give it another chance? You know, honestly, I kind of enjoy Facebook. It's a way to stay in touch with your friends and your family. I hate it, though, and I haven't been as active over the past few years because of the censorship, and you have to be careful, you know, with what you post. By the way, if you do go back to Facebook and you haven't liked or followed my page already, just look up Joey Hudson on Facebook and be sure and like my page and let's give him another chance. What do you say? Text me, email me, joey@joeyhudson.com. Zuckerberg said we're going to get back to our roots and focus on reducing mistakes, simplifying our policies, and restoring free expression on our platforms. Did you catch that? Restoring free expression? Yeah, it's time, Zuckerberg. You're finally acknowledging that Facebook's heavy-handed content moderation policies went too far. He's admitted that these complex systems of filtering content are full of mistakes, and those mistakes have silenced millions of people. Again, I've always just attributed it to a bunch of 20-somethings who really don't know what they're doing, who have been in charge of censoring our speech. That's not all. It gets a little better. Zuckerberg isn't just making policy changes. He's shaking up his entire operation. Meta's content moderation team leaving California and going to Texas. Now, I think we have some free speech in Texas, right? If it's going to another city, I would rather see it go to Texas. He says that this is to cut out the cultural bias that's been baked into the system for years. Zuckerberg himself said that the move will help build trust because Silicon Valley, not exactly represents mainstream America. And listen to this, too. Restrictions on hot-button topics like gender and immigration are being lifted. Zuckerberg said it himself, that these restrictions are out of touch with mainstream discourse. It's a huge step forward, making social media a place where people can actually discuss the issues that matter to them without the fear of being shut down. And hey, look, nobody forces you to be on Facebook. If you don't like what somebody's saying on Facebook, don't read it. They shouldn't be shut down, though. They should be, as long as it's not physically hurting someone else. Maybe it hurts their feelings, but if it's not hurting them, someone should be allowed to say it. And you're not obligated to read it. Couldn't have said this better myself when he said, what started as a movement to be more inclusive has increasingly been used to shut down opinions and shut out people with different ideas. It's gone too far. That's the DEI. He is saying basically that diversity, equity, and inclusion has almost ruined his social media platform. This is a 180 from the Facebook that banned Trump in 2021. You agree? Remember that? They silenced a sitting president. Now they're giving him, they're rolling out the red carpet, and they gave him $1 million for his inauguration. What a turnaround. Zuckerberg even met with Trump at Mar-a-Lago, gave him a pair of those fancy Meta Ray-Ban glasses a few weeks ago. That is the Trump effect. They're donating $1 million to his inaugural fund. Would you have ever seen that coming? Would you have ever seen Trump being stifled and trying to be shut down to Mark Zuckerberg going to Mar-a-Lago to deliver $1 million check? Sherif Biggs was elected to represent the people of the 3rd Congressional District of South Carolina. I had a chance to catch up with her earlier in the week and talk with her about the process that a freshman representative goes through in order to get their office open and choose a staff and that type of thing, and what issues are important to her and what she sees herself working on based on the committee assignments that she receives and just the overall Trump 2.0 and what the administration expects out of the MAGA Republicans. We'll continue my conversation with Representative Sherif Biggs. Let's talk a little, because I know during the campaign there were other issues. Of course, the southern border, security at our southern border was one of the top priorities. But talk about some of the other issues that are important to you that you've heard your constituents talking about that you'll be working on in these coming weeks and months.
Well, the economy. I mean, I can't say enough about that. People are struggling, just making ends meet, and that's another issue that President Trump will be getting out quickly in addressing those issues, and the tax cuts and just things that will help everyday families live better.
You know, I saw the results of a Pew Research study, and they asked Americans after the election to name the top 3 words that came to their mind, and the top word was hope. And I think we've seen that. I've heard so many people tell me, I have hope now, hope for the future. And that's, you know, that's what President Trump has promised, that we're going to have a better future, that he's going to tackle some of these issues that have been tough. Talk with us about what you see him doing in those first 100 days. And, of course, you and your colleagues in the Congress will play a big part of that. Can we get inflation under control? Can we get our border secure and stop the inflow of all these illegals?
Absolutely. I mean, we saw what has just happened in Las Vegas and New Orleans, and that just kind of puts a spotlight on the dangers that we have around us. And I know that President Trump, he's communicated with Speaker Johnson. Things are already in the works as far as plans, and meetings are happening on the sidelines, when he comes in, and when he's here on the 20th, there's already going to be work prepared and things in motion to make an improvement and get things back on track to make America great again.
Sure. What has been your first impression as you've learned your way around the Capitol and just with your colleagues? Have you had an opportunity to talk with some of your Democrat colleagues, and what is their attitude?
I haven't spent a lot of time with the Democrat colleagues. I've been more focused on the people that I'm going to be working closely with. But what I have heard is that there is some discussion. I mean, anyone that lives in the United States, they want things better. They want to be able to provide for their families. So with the ideas that President Trump has already mentioned with the plans moving forward, I don't see how a lot of them, if they're reasonable and just want to live in a land that prospers, I don't see how they couldn't be for some of the ideas on his agenda.
On our guest line today, representing the 3rd Congressional District of South Carolina, Representative Sherif Biggs. So you think they got the message? I mean, I don't see how they could not have, but you think they got the message that Americans are, that we're kind of at wit's end here. We're ready to tackle inflation. We're ready for tax cuts. We're ready, again, to stop the flow of illegals into our country. Do you think they really understood what the American people were saying on November the 5th?
Oh, absolutely. The people made that decision when they went and voted on November the 5th, and President Trump is the person to carry us across the line. He has big ideas, and he knows how to make things happen, and he's got a good team around him and people that are here like me and representing the 3rd District. We're ready to go, and I hope I can use my skills and my education, and I'm going to fight as hard as I can just to make whatever the agenda is, as long as it's going to improve our economy, it's going to make our residents safer in South Carolina. I'm going to be all for it. And if it means working 7 days a week, 12, 16 hours a day, whatever it takes, I'm here and ready to go to work.
Sure. Representative Biggs, one of the things that I would imagine will be a bit of a challenge for you is sort of balancing that that your schedule between Washington and your district, let's talk a minute about constituent services, because that's something, of course, that the people who elected you will expect. Where will your district offices be within the 3rd Congressional District? Because you represent a pretty wide geographic area.
We do. We are keeping the Anderson office, and actually we haven't opened our second office yet because, we have to have the right location. We have to have a secured area for the individuals that are going to be working there. So and as I said, there's a lot of moving pieces, and we couldn't start until after I was sworn in.
Right.
So that's kind of delayed. We just had to prioritize. So getting the Washington office up and going and getting the Anderson office up and going, those were priority. And once we get that done, we'll open our second district office. And if I'm not required to be in D.C. voting, working on anything specifically, I will be coming back to the district and absolutely be out and about so that individuals can have an opportunity to meet with me and that I can let them know what's going on here. We actually, the website should be up. I haven't checked it today, but I know they had it ready to go, and hopefully that will be a good form of communication. We're going to try to send out newsletters, videos, just to let people know. We're going to try to keep those lines of communication open so that the district knows what's going on. I know what they're feeling, and it's just going to be cohesive teamwork.
Sure. Well, Representative Sherif Biggs, it's always a pleasure. I appreciate your time today. And, of course, one line of communication can certainly be talk radio, and you have an open invitation here with me. Anytime you have something you need to communicate to the district, we always enjoy having you.
Well, thank you so much. I'm very grateful and enjoy talking to you anytime.
Yeah. Sherif Biggs, Representative 3rd Congressional District. Again, thanks for your time, and we'll look forward to checking in with you again very soon.
Thank you so much.
That's it for today's edition of Just the Truth. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss Studios. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. If you haven't joined my mailing list yet, visit my website, joeyhudson.com. Click on the Connect with Joey button so that you can receive our emails and the most up-to-date news. Also, join me on my YouTube channel. Be sure and like, comment, and subscribe. Just search for Joey Hudson. As always, thanks for spending a few minutes of your day with me. Do me a favor and forward this episode to a few friends. Just click on the share button and send to your contacts. We need to build an army of conservatives to win our country back, and we can do that by continuing to share the truth with our friends and family. Keep those comments coming via the Firmin Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY. Email to joey@joeyhudson.com, and I love your messages on the MyPillow message line. Again, that's 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Be sure and take advantage of the MyPillow special, just $14.88 on the standard MyPillows when you use promo code Joey. Order online at mypillow.com or call 800-893-4053. We're back again tomorrow and hope you'll plan to join us. Until then, remember, God's got this. He's still in control.